The pie had barely touched the table when I heard it. "That's seats for my mother-in-law. Get out." The words didn't quite register at first. My son Elias had always had a sharp tongue, a humor that bordered on cruelty. So I thought maybe it was one of his tasteless jokes. But then I saw his hand, not on a fork, not lifting a glass, but gripping the back of my chair, and then the pole. The wooden legs shrieked against the polished floor as he yanked the chair backward. I stumbled, falling hard, pie slipping in my hands. The sound of glassware rattling as I landed in front of the roast ham, the string beans, the wine glasses I had once wrapped carefully as a wedding gift for him and Karina. For one suspended second, I lay there, not mother, not guest, not even human. Just something in the way. No one moved. Karina stood at the far end of the table, arms folded like a judge passing sentence. My youngest granddaughter scrolled her phone without glancing up. My oldest grandson stared at his plate, chewing as if silence were survival. Not one hand reached for me. Elias bent down, his tone casual, as though humiliation were nothing more than a reminder. "We told you. Karina's mom needs that chair. Bad knee." He plucked the place card I had written by hand, crumpling it between his fingers. I said nothing. Silence was safer. My voice would have betrayed me, cracked open something I wasn't ready to show. Instead, I lifted myself from the floor, slowly, deliberately adjusted my dress, and carried my pie back into the kitchen. The place card with my name stayed behind, bent and discarded, like me, from the hallway. Laughter rose again. Forks clinked. Gravy was passed. Life went on as if I hadn't been shoved out of it. But I was already. Leaving, the snow had begun to fall when I slipped out the side door. I had shoveled that very path that morning, anticipating their arrival, the footsteps of family filling my house. Instead, I drove away in silence, headlights catching the flicker of the porch light behind me. By the time I reached home, the air smelled faintly of cinnamon and lemon oil scents I had scrubbed into the walls days ago, preparing for a visit that never came. The house was immaculate, waiting, but it was only me. And a table set for one. I boiled water out of habit, stirred honey into tea, and sat at the kitchen table Caleb had built with his own hands. The varnish was worn smooth from decades of coffee cups, crossword puzzles, late night whispers. It was at this very table I had read Elise's first letter about starting his firm. "Mom, I just need one client to believe in me." I had believed. I had sold my only wedding necklace, a thick gold chain with a sapphire locket, to buy him his first printer. I had poured into him the faith only a mother can give, and in return, he had pulled the chair from beneath me. If you've ever wondered how far betrayal can reach, how quietly it sharpens itself in families, you already understand why I tell you this. And if you don't, then subscribe to Shattered Bonds. These are the stories no one wants to admit live inside their homes. I might have let it go, convinced myself it was just pride, just one ugly night. But something gnawed at me. The cabin, the place Caleb and I had built when our hands were still young and calloused. When our love could withstand winters without heat and summers without air. I remembered the folder tucked away in his old desk cabin. Vermont? Private? His handwriting firm and steady. I opened it, letting myself drift for a moment into memory. Thermoses of coffee on long drives. No cell signal, laughter echoing against the trees. But then my eyes caught something sharp, a detail out of place. A parcel number, a small asterisk, and the name that wasn't ours anymore, Dorn and Ledger, LLC. Elias's firm. My stomach tightened. The deed had been transferred 5 years ago. My signature nowhere on it. My name missing entirely. The truth hit like cold water. They hadn't only taken my seat at the Christmas table. They had stolen the cabin too, quietly, with forged signatures and hidden filings. And that was when my silence ended. I called Ruth first. She didn't waste time. Jacob Fielding, real estate lawyer. Quiet but sharp. He'll find what they did. Jacob called an hour later. Calm, professional. If you've never signed, it's invalid. Give me until morning. I called Nicholas Grant next, son of Caleb's estate lawyer. He pulled up the trust. His voice was firm. You've retained full control. Caleb structured it that way intentionally. They can't sell without you. Lastly, I called the bank. Mr. Kelman remembered me at once. Caleb's fund is still waiting. Ready to activate. Elias is removed. By nightfall, my silence had turned into strategy. Jacob's email arrived before dawn. A forged authorization, clumsy but dangerous, alongside Elias's email to a realtor pending sale. Just need Mom's signature cleaned up. Don't spook her. Don't spook me. They thought I was too weak to fight, too desperate to belong. But they had forgotten something Caleb always knew. I may be quiet, but I am not careless. 3 days later, Karina called. Her tone chirpy, her words polished. Hi, Mom. Just looping you in. We're moving forward with the cabin sale. Elias said you'd understand. Less stress, more liquidity. It's better for everyone. I let her finish. I even smiled. That sounds reasonable, I said softly. Her sigh of relief was audible. I'm so glad you feel that way. But what she didn't know was that Caleb had written a different ending long ago. He had split control of the cabin through an LLC to 49% to Elias, 51% to me. Buried in the trust was one quiet clause: no sale, no transfer. No dissolution without my signature. They had built their empire on silence. But they hadn't realized silence could also be a weapon. By noon, their empire began to bleed. The cabin sale frozen. An audit triggered. Clients asking questions Elias couldn't answer. Karina's mother screaming in their kitchen. Karina herself snapping about credit cards and broken promises. And Elias, my son, just sat there, scrolling through notifications, watching everything slip like sand through his fingers. What did you do? Karina screamed. His voice was barely a whisper. I thought. She wouldn't fight, but I did fight. Just not the way they expected. The next day, my house was filled with laughter. Ruth brought her lemon scones. Jeanette, with her scandalous stories, made us howl until our ribs ached. Midway through, Ruth's phone buzzed with an alert. She read it aloud. Dornan Ledger removed from Wexford Trust due to ethical review. Pending resolution of audit. Silence. Then Ruth raised her mug. To cleaning house, she said. We clinked cups. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't pride. It was peace. Later, I drove to the cabin. The driveway was dusted with pine needles, the porch cracked, the step creaking louder than memory. But the key still turned smoothly. Inside, the air smelled like dry wood and thyme. The quilt I'd stitched during Caleb's chemo winters still hung on the rocker. I lit the fireplace, flipped open Caleb's leather-bound notebook. Halfway through, a line underlined twice. If they forget what you gave, don't remind them. Just rebuild without them. I closed it gently, placed it back on the mantel, and began signing the transfer papers. Nicholas had prepared. Clean, final mine again. I sealed an envelope with the revocation papers and a short letter. Just enough. You gave my seat to someone else. Let her build your next empire. I won't be part of it. No anger. Just truth. The phone rang that evening. I didn't answer. The voicemail would be panic, excuses please. None of it mattered. I sat in Caleb's old chair, coffee, warming my palms, and looked out at the trail we used to walk. The trees swayed low, the snow fell soft, and for the first time in years, I felt still. This was my seat now, my table. My silence didn't no one would ever take it again. If you've felt this story sink into your bones, if you've ever known the quiet violence of being erased, then remember, you're not alone. Families fracture in silence, but silence can also rebuild. Subscribe to Shattered Bonds because some betrayals don't just break families, they reveal who you were all along.